Okay, so look around your house. Most of us have some form of art on the walls and knickknacks on the tables, but if you're a parent of young kids, how many pictures of them are prominently placed throughout the house? For many of us, our kids' pictures are tucked away on smartphones and relegated to the cloud. Studies show when kids see images of themselves growing up, it fosters a sense of confidence and belonging. With a professional portrait experience, it's not just a picture, it becomes an emotional piece of art. We remember the entire process, from getting dressed up to the space we were in, how we posed, and who we posed with. Was it for a wedding, graduation, or just the joy of welcoming the next generation? Joining us with 100 years of capturing special moments and special people and of even pets are Monica Sigmon and Michael Taylor, award-winning photographers with Gittings, Houston. Now, to be clear, they haven't been doing this for the entire 100 years, but the company has.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, just want to make sure. People are like, oh, they look so young there. All right, these are such true photographers. Before the show started, I had my cross was like all over here. He's like, you need to fix that. Yeah, move that over there. So yeah, so they had me all primped up here. All right, Gittings has a long history. Let's go through how it started in terms of portrait photography.
I'll let you start with that because it's very sentimental to you especially.
Well, it's really interesting that Gittings is a well-known name, of course, here in Houston, but Paul Gittings Jr., who started the studio back in 1928, changed portrait photography for the whole United States by bringing a high level of quality, by realizing that you needed to market better, to have better sales, to reach out and be involved with the community, to be involved with other businesses like Neiman Marcus. He raised the level of the studio. So he was a very important person, in our history. Because of what he did.
And I'm gonna get to that in a second. Before we get around to like what portraits really are, your entry into the photography world. You originally wanted to be a musician. What happened?
Well,
have you heard him?
When you have 28 people in your high school jazz band and you're the number 28th best musician in that band, you realize there's no career path, even as a junior in high school. So I was a real high school nerd and could have graduated a year early, but I took some classes, took a photography class, and I was able to do something with a camera and be able to speak with my camera, so to speak, that I couldn't do with my alto saxophone. So, I found that it really gave me a way to be creative and to express myself.
And you were actually recognized by Paul Gittings Jr. himself, which brings it full circle of having a Gittings studio.
Yeah, he, our National Trade Association, Professional Photographers of America, of course, has a print competition. And the very first year I entered, one of my prints scored high enough to be noticed. And I got a letter from Paul Gittings Jr. asking for a print of that so that he could have it put into the Photography Hall of Fame in its permanent collection, since he was the chairman of the Hall of Fame. So
that is so cool. All right, Monica, for you, I think all of us, when we take a good picture, we look at it and go, oh, look what I did. Oh, that's a great picture.
Right.
But just like with Michael, you took to it.
Yeah. It's something that I have always loved to do, and I kind of fell into backwards. But as soon as I started doing it, realized that this is what I was supposed to do. And I think as photographers, if we realize that it's really not about us, and it's really about the people in front of us, then that's when we can really excel.
You're storytellers,
right? Yeah. Exactly right.
All right. How did you two meet?
Well, it's actually funny because Michael is obviously considerably older than I am, and so I knew who he was in our portrait industry. Our portrait industry it's really cool. It's very close and connected, and there's a lot of conventions and seminars and workshops, a lot of opportunity to learn and network. And so I knew who he was. He was basically one of the best portrait photographers in the country, and so I had attended several of his seminars, and then we had the opportunity to teach together, and we were invited by the same company for a trade show up in New York, and I knew who he was.
Would you like to come see my scrapbook?
No, he had no. He could, girl.
Well, let's just say the rest is history on this one.
Who I was, did not care who I was. But yeah, so eventually we started teaching together,
And here we are.
that was that.
All right, when it comes to the word portraits, define what portrait is. They used to be done in paintings, right? The thing about paintings is like, I read something about like King Henry VIII. They said his skin was horrible. He had all these issues. Never saw it when it was painted because that person would be killed if they painted him the way he really was, right? So photography became different. But the idea of a portrait is what?
I think a portrait is really a representation for the subject. It's a representation of what they look like to the people who love them, right? It's like how the people love you, how the people who love you see you. That's what I want to do as a portrait photographer. And then for the viewer, I think it's an opportunity to really get a sense of not just what that person looks like, but a little bit of who they are. Like we want to pique their curiosity.
In that moment. So portrait photography, circa 1845, the daguerreotype camera came out, so we had the black and whites,
So
the
you were
sepia
there for
tones,
that.
the hand.
How was that, Michael?
You know, it was kind of tough. All that chemistry and everything was really hard.
It was 1845, right? Okay. But the middle class could now access portraits, right? And then, of course, different things change with color, autochrome, Kodachrome, all that kind of technical stuff. But historic Gittings photos, you say going through the negatives is like going through a time machine.
Yeah, you know, it's remarkable because, you know, we have a storage space here in Houston that we have the negatives going back to the very first session that Gittings has.
And what year was that?
1928. Wow. And I've gone back there and I've pulled that sleeve out, and it is an 8x10 negative. It's of course black and white, and I held it up to the light, and I could see the retouching right on the negative, because back then they used pencil and knives and things like that to retouch right on the negative.
Yeah.
And you know, it is remarkable to go in that storage area and just look around and think about the history.
Yeah, and you see even the time period of the styles, right? That woman, that long gown. So in the 20s, it was all about the, you know, Hollywood glam, right? And then look at that right there. And then oftentimes they would do things like what was the technology of the day, and so you'd be by a car. It wasn't yours. Yeah, it wasn't yours, but look, I'm by a car, right? Or you'd see people reflection of their, which y'all do today too, reflection of their career. Are they in the law office, or are they by a typewriter, all that type of stuff. But it's so cool to see because you know where people are. The Roaring 20s, you know where people are in time. Fur collars, sparkly evening gowns, all that type of stuff. A portrait setting is also different. This ain't your cell phone mix, right?
We hope not.
Yeah, it's great. Portrait photography is a photographer is experienced in so many things. Let's start with lighting.
Well, lighting is so important because, well, first of all, everything we do is intentional. Nothing happens by accident, right? So our job is to set the scene, whether it's in the studio or on location, so that magic can happen. And lighting is a big part of that because lighting can flatter us or not.
Unflatter us.
Exactly. And it's funny because in COVID, right, everybody got so used to that ring light, which is really just like a hot blast of light coming straight at you, and that does not flatter most people.
Look at like right here, just the beautiful lighting right here, but this is also composition and planning.
Exactly. So we use lighting to really flatter people, add shape to their faces, add dimension. Oh, look who!
Oh, there she is in the studio. Look at that girl right there.
That's right.
Okay, that's all lighting, people. I don't look that good. No, but you also, like we say, telling part of the story, and that was for something else that we did. But telling part of the story, oftentimes people will be photographed. You have so many beautiful pictures, whether it's the hat maker or you know whatever it is. But this also says that you have to have patience. You two are the most patient people because a lot of us will walk in. If that picture's not taken in the first 5 minutes, we're over it, right?
You guys are over it.
There's some behind-the-scenes clicks that we have here where you had a couple come in. You can never tell kids what to do or pets what to do, so you have to have patience.
All bets are off.
Tell us about this right here.
This is Nikki and James Lassiter coming in with their 5 gorgeous, gorgeous dogs for a session. And the thing is with dogs, like the dogs are not the problem.
Yeah, right. That's what Nikki said. She goes, so there's James and I were the problem.
Humans that are the problem because dogs, just like children, feed on your energy. And so if a parent comes in stressed, I mean, parents want their children or dogs to behave. They don't want to be embarrassed. They don't want to inconvenience us, whatever. So so if we can just, you know, get the parents under control, then it usually works out great. But dogs and kids, they know.
Yeah.
They know if
they're waiting on us. It's like whenever you're ready to take the picture, let us know.
But they know if we're here for them.
Yeah.
They know if we're sincere, right? Like they know, like kids know if we're faking it or if we really love love kids. Like
Yeah.
I'm always like, bring me every 2, 3, 4-year-old on the planet. Bring them all to me. I need them in my life. Like I love that age, and they
setting
know
up
that.
a session, it involves so much more than just show up and click, right? So it often includes a home visit and consultations, wardrobe discussions, location scouting, all things into account. The sunset, the windows,
Right,
patterns on
right,
the furniture.
right.
You gotta know what time are we taking this picture? Where are we, and how meaningful is the spot that we're taking this picture at for you?
Right,
perhaps?
and that's what we say when, that's what we mean when we say it's not accidental, and it does take planning. But, and I think that's part of the reason why some people kind of avoid a proper portrait session. They think it's too much work, or they're intimidated
doing
by
the
that.
work.
But
That's the point.
we're
Yeah.
that's where we help. That's where we come in, because we kind of begin with that end in mind, and we know what that finished portrait is going to look like, where it's going to hang in your home. We know how important it is for the generations to come. We take that very seriously.
It's one of our wonderful
and
couples,
so
philanthropic
things are
couples here.
planned out in advance, so that all our clients have to do is kind of come in and relax and be themselves, and then the magic happens.
There are some, we mentioned that pictures say 1,000 words, and I said earlier off the top there how important it is for kids to see themselves around the house, and the portraits are words of affirmation.
They really are, and the studies have been done that children who see themselves in portraits in their home, and see family portraits particularly in their home, have a greater sense of permanence, a greater sense of security. And I think, especially now more than ever, that's so important. And even if it's just a photograph from the school photographer, if they see themselves in a 5x7 or 8x10 on a desktop, something around the home,
I remember I was
they
so
know
upset with my
someone's
son one
proud
day.
of
He
them.
was just causing all kinds of problems with his homework.
Yeah.
And I said, I am done with you. He goes, well, if you're done with me, perhaps I'll take down all the photos of the house that you have of me.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
okay. And then I came
They
home
know.
one day, and he was mad at me and not at his dad. He put duct tape over my face of every single photo in the house. I'm like, it's a surprise that boy's still with me.
I will tell you, you should give him some credit, because there was one day my mom got mad at my dad, and she cut all the photos in half. So at least he just used the
some
tape.
duct tape,
So.
yes. All right, some notable Houstonians. Of course, we talk about being a time capsule for all of us. George H.W. Bush is one of those. They're right there. Oh, wow. And that's when he was so much younger, too. Yeah. That was probably not too far after when he was a pilot in World War II. All right, and then Cal and Hannah McNair, as we know, are the owners of the Houston Texans. That's the next generation from Bob. And then other celebrities: Sophia Loren, Tom Landry, John Wayne. That's pretty cool. All right. Oh wow. Yeah. Oh, you got some major people in there. Is there a way for us to even see all these pictures at some point? Some kind of celebration?
It's really exciting because Gittings will turn 100 in 2028, and so we just got here last June when we bought the studio, and so we're kind of ramping up for that, and we're going to have some really exciting things. And I think one of the coolest things that we found since moving here is everybody we meet and we tell our new relationship with Gittings, and they'll say, "Oh my gosh, my grandparents took me to Gittings," or "I went to Gittings," or "I have a Gittings on my wall." So we're going to do a campaign called "Show Us Your Gittings" as we get up to the 100th anniversary, and because it's exciting for us to see it too. We want to see. We want to see that. So we'll have all kinds of good things.
Because one thing, we want to honor the city, because it's because of Houston that the studio's been here for 98 years. If it wasn't for the people, the community, the studio had been gone a long time ago. That's right. We'll be the 4th studio in America to be over 100 years old. So it's a rare thing. And so we treasure this relationship the studio has had with Houston. So it's important.
Thank you all very much for helping us to treasure our memories beyond that bad cell phone picture where we're backlit and doesn't look right, but something that's a really a beautiful emotional piece of art and emotional anchor in our homes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, key moments in your life are a good time to get portraits, graduations, new babies, weddings, holidays, anytime you want to mark a special occasion, and those rare occasions when, like a reunion, you have all the family members in one place. For more information, Gittings Photography Houston. You can follow them on Instagram at Gittings Houston.